Now, Themba Godi, the former chairperson of Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts, Scopa, and leader of the African People's Convention, is here to help us understand the scope of this committee and what it aims to achieve. He joins us now virtually. Mr. Godi, a very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Now, as someone who once chaired Scopa, you understand better than I do, than most of the weight and the sensitivity of such inquiries. We now see Scopa launching a full probe into the Road Accident Fund, including explosive allegations, as it were, that parts of this judiciary may be colluding with lawyers in fraudulent RAF claims. So, from your experience, just how unprecedented is this level of scrutiny into both an institution like the RAF and the judiciary itself? Does this signal that Parliament is perhaps becoming more assertive in its oversight role, or is it a sign of deepening governance crises across state institutions?
Well, it is Scopa's sole mandate to probe the state of finances in the state or government. And so what they're doing is part of their normal, work or function. I hear the chair saying for the next 5 weeks, that's what they'll be doing. I'm wondering whether they are focused on the strategic issues or they'll just zoom on anything and everything that should take them that long. I'm not privy to the content of their thrust, but from my 13.5 years experience, I've never had such a lengthy period of time focusing on a single entity. Yes, 2, 3, 4 days of hearings are okay, but 5 weeks, I think they are probably wasting time on one entity when they have over 200 entities to look at, and I don't think that governance has so improved that they have that kind of time to focus on one entity.
Well, these are extraordinary allegations, as it were, suggesting that judicial officers may be complicit in corruption or corrupt dealings with lawyers over the RAF payouts. What does it say about the integrity of our justice system if such claims even warrant a parliamentary investigation? I mean, how difficult will it be for Scopa to investigate matters that fall partially under the ambit or under the authority of the judiciary, given the separation of powers principle?
No, you're correct. Allegations made against the judiciary in this instance are quite shocking, and they will be unprecedented in terms of the work of the committee. And it will be interesting to see how they navigate around that. Like you indicate, the separation of powers. I do remember when we're dealing with SASA, when we're fighting to get the Net 1 contract, terminated. Remember, there was a constitutional court ruling. Right. I wrote to the then Chief Justice to say, how can we as Parliament work with the judiciary? And he clearly said, no, you do your work, we do our work, we do not mix. So I think Scopa will have to get evidence from the officials. Maybe they can subpoena lawyers who are involved to come and appear. Once they gather information that implicates the judiciary, they will have to report that to Parliament, and I think there will then be a separate process to prove that. And
Mr. Godi, Scopa's core mandate is to oversee public expenditure and ensure accountability in the use of public funds. So the big question perhaps is, how far can Scopa legitimately go in investigating such potential judicial misconduct without, of course, overstepping constitutional boundaries? And in your time as chairperson, maybe if you could indulge us on how Scopa handled situations where allegations pointed towards institutions outside of the executive branch, such as the courts. Well,
like I say, Scopa will have to deal with the officials at RAF. Scopa has the mandate and the authority to subpoena any person, including yourself, if they feel like, and they believe that you have information that is important to them. But in terms of finger being pointed to the judiciary in relation to the usage of public funds. It's something that is unprecedented, that we never had to deal with it. And it's new territory. It will be interesting to see how they navigate around that beyond mere insinuations and allegations. I don't see Scopa calling a judge, for example, to come and appear before it because of a particular decision that was taken. That's why I believe once they have such questionable decisions, they will have to report to Parliament, and Parliament will have to trigger. If it's a magistrate, yes, Parliament can act on that. But there is a commission through outside Parliament, that includes Parliament, through which such cases can be probed and decisions are taken either by Parliament if it's magistrate, or by the President if it involves judges.
And it suffices to mention that the Road Accident Fund has been a recurring concern for years, from ballooning liabilities to maladministration to late payments. But why has it been so difficult for Parliament, for Treasury, for Department of Transport to stabilize this entity despite repeated audits and interventions? I mean, what structural or governance weaknesses make the RAF particularly vulnerable to corruption and financial mismanagement?
No, that's very true. The RAF has really not been stable. I think during my tenure, the main issue was liquidity.
Yep.
That it was running out of cash, running out of funds. But the main problem for me is political, because it is the minister who appoints the board, and then the board appoints the executive. So the quality of the people that the minister appoints as board members is surely going to impact on the quality of the executive so appointed by the board. And I think so far we have not had any political head within that department who has acted in a way that is consistent, that is intentional, that really seeks to get to the root of the challenge. RAF has always been a hotbed of maladministration, of corruption, of neglect, and even of very serious legislative lapses. I'm sure you have seen the drama that played itself out with the CEO being suspended, not being suspended, and the whole spectacle, which unfortunately for an important entity like RAF, is to the disadvantage of ordinary citizens.
You're quite right there, Mr. Godi. And we can only hope that this particular inquiry will not be a battleground for politics, but rather a system or mechanism for accountability. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Oh, that was Themba Godi, the former chairperson of Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts and leader of the African People's Convention, just reflecting on the upcoming Scopa inquiry into the Road Accident Fund. And as we've heard, the committee is set to probe the far-reaching allegations from maladministration, from financial mismanagement to possible judicial collusion in the RAF claims.